What if the sweet foods you love could actually help manage diabetes? Today we're looking at 5 naturally sweet options that not only don't spike blood sugar, but may even improve insulin response and support long-term glucose control. They're satisfying, doctor-reviewed, and backed by real science. Let's start with the one almost nobody expects. Imagine enjoying a piece of chocolate without worrying that it will immediately work against your blood sugar goals. For many people living with diabetes, chocolate has long been grouped with cakes and candy, things to avoid because of their tendency to spike glucose. But it turns out that not all chocolate has the same effect, and dark chocolate in particular may carry unexpected advantages. Milk chocolate remains the type most often discouraged, and there is good reason for that. It usually contains high amounts of added sugar, milk solids, and fat, while offering only a small fraction of the beneficial compounds found in cocoa. That mix tends to raise blood sugar quickly and add unwanted calories that contribute to weight gain. Dark chocolate, by contrast, has much more cocoa, often 50 to 80% or higher, and far less sugar. That higher cocoa content preserves natural compounds called flavonols, which makes a real difference in how your body responds. Flavonols are plant-based antioxidants linked with improved insulin sensitivity. This means your body may use glucose more effectively, moving it out of the bloodstream and into your cells. They also appear to improve circulation by helping blood vessels relax, which supports cardiovascular health, a key concern for people managing diabetes. A large long-term observational study published in the BMJ followed over 190,000 participants and found something striking. People who ate dark chocolate 5 or more times per week had about a 21% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared with those who rarely ate it. This figure applies specifically to higher cocoa dark chocolate and does not prove direct cause and effect, but it does suggest a strong link worth paying attention to. So why doesn't milk chocolate offer the same potential? The answer lies in its lower flavonol levels and higher sugar and fat content. When cocoa is diluted this way, much of the benefit disappears, leaving behind mostly empty calories. Dark chocolate maintains those cocoa compounds, which helps explain why research observes effects that milk chocolate simply does not deliver. The practical question is how to enjoy it safely. Nutrition experts suggest looking for quality dark chocolate with 50 to 80% cocoa content and keeping portions to about 1 ounce, a couple of small squares, a few times per week. Treat it as an occasional planned snack rather than a daily bar. For even steadier blood sugar, pair your chocolate with a handful of nuts. The protein, fiber, and fat in nuts help slow digestion and reduce glucose spikes. But here's the twist. There's another sweet food you may already have that quietly helps blood sugar after a meal. What if the humble fig could actually help steady blood sugar after your first meal of the day? At first, that thought seems unlikely because most people associate figs with concentrated sweetness. A single fresh fig tastes rich and sweet, which is why people managing diabetes often hesitate before eating them. The flavor feels more like dessert than a food that might support balance. Yet research suggests both the leaves and the fruit have surprising roles to play. The clearest evidence so far comes from fig leaves. In one small crossover study involving people with insulin-dependent diabetes, type 1, patients who consumed a simple fig leaf decoction with meals needed about 12% less insulin compared to when they drank a non-sweet tea. That's a meaningful reduction for something completely natural, not prescribed. The fruit itself is also being studied, though much of that work is still early. While the leaf decoction already has small human trial support, many of the fruit-related findings come from animal research or pilot studies using extracts. For example, fermented fig products have been shown in mice to reduce inflammation and improve markers of glucose tolerance. Because inflammation is tied to insulin resistance and long-term complications, these results are encouraging even if they aren't conclusive yet. Together, they point toward a food family with both immediate and potential future benefits. You don't need to wait for specialized extracts to use figs practically, though. Fresh figs can be combined with foods that stabilize blood sugar. A simple strategy is slicing half of a fig on warm oatmeal or stirring a small spoonful of naturally made figs spread into plain yogurt. Adding walnuts, almonds, or Greek yogurt provides fiber and protein, which slows digestion and helps reduce post-meal spikes. Use just half a fresh fig or a tablespoon of spread in these pairings so the complementary foods do the work of keeping blood sugar steady. That way, you still enjoy the pleasant sweetness without feeling like you're sabotaging your balance. But wait until you see the fruit people usually think is completely off limits. It may surprise you. Few fruits seem less likely to work in a diabetes-friendly plan than the date fruit. Their caramel-like sweetness and soft texture make them feel more like candy than a health food. Because of this, dates are often seen as something to avoid if you want steady blood glucose. For years, advice about keeping dried fruit off the menu reinforced that impression. Yet when researchers tested how dates affect blood sugar in people with diabetes, the results were more encouraging. Small feeding studies where participants ate the equivalent of 7 to 10 dates showed no dramatic spike in glucose afterwards. But researchers emphasized that outcomes depend heavily on both the date variety and the portion size. Some kinds of dates rank lower on the glycemic index, while others are much higher. This variation helps explain why the fruit doesn't always act predictably in the body. The glycemic index values for dates span a wide range, from the low 40s in some varieties to the 70s in others. That means not every date has the same effect. Because of this variation, the safest approach is to set a guideline of 1 or 2 Medjool dates as a snack, or 3 to 4 smaller ones, and then monitor your own glucose response. These serving sizes also match what many of the studies actually tested. It's not about avoiding dates altogether, but keeping amounts measured and consistent. Another reason dates may behave differently than expected is their fiber content, which slows the release of natural sugars into the bloodstream. You can slow it down even further by pairing dates with protein and healthy fat. A common strategy is stuffing one with a spoon of almond butter or eating a date alongside a few walnuts or a small portion of plain yogurt. This pairing doesn't just enhance taste, it helps keep digestion slower, prevents quick spikes, and turns dates into a structured snack rather than an uncontrolled portion. Beyond blood sugar, some small studies have hinted that regular date intake may also support cholesterol levels. Modest improvements in total and LDL cholesterol have been reported, though only in short-term trials. Putting all this together, dates aren't an automatic no food if you manage diabetes. They are nutrient-dense, providing potassium, magnesium, antioxidants, and fiber, and when used in moderation, they can satisfy cravings without derailing glucose control. Keep portions to just 2 large or a few small dates, ideally with a protein or fat partner, and they shift from being a feared food to a useful option. Next, a colorful root that looks like dessert but behaves like medicine, and it's gentle enough for daily meals. Purple sweet potatoes bring more than color to the plate. They may also offer important support for blood sugar management. Their vivid pigment comes from natural plant compounds called anthocyanins, found in high concentration throughout the root. These compounds don't just add visual appeal, they appear to influence how the body processes glucose. Ordinary potatoes often have a reputation for spiking blood sugar, and for good reason. They are starchy and can digest quickly if prepared in certain ways. But not all sweet potatoes behave the same, and variety matters when it comes to their effects. Purple sweet potatoes stand out because their anthocyanins interact with important pathways linked to insulin sensitivity and glucose balance. Laboratory studies show anthocyanins in purple varieties can improve insulin signaling through AMPK and GLUT pathways, as well as protect pancreatic beta cells that produce insulin. Preserving these cells is a key goal in type 2 diabetes management. While promising, most of this evidence comes from lab and animal research rather than large human trials, so it should be kept in perspective. Interestingly, another type of sweet potato has received more human study. The white-skinned Kayapo variety, used as an extract in capsule form, has been tested in people with type 2 diabetes. In these trials, participants taking about 4 grams per day showed modest improvements, including lower HbA1c and fasting glucose readings. That's an encouraging sign, but it's important to note this was with a concentrated extract, not the same as eating whole sweet potatoes daily. Returning to purple sweet potatoes, research suggests their anthocyanins do more than assist insulin. They also encourage muscle cells to take up glucose by stimulating transport proteins like GLUT4 in a way similar to moderate exercise. This could support steady energy while keeping blood sugar from rising too sharply after meals. Preparation makes a large difference in how they affect your blood sugar. Baking, roasting, or frying tends to raise the glycemic index, while boiling or steaming keeps glucose responses lower and preserves beneficial pigments. A half-cup serving of boiled or steamed purple sweet potato is a reasonable portion that lets you enjoy their natural flavor without pushing blood sugar out of range. Pairing them with protein, such as an egg or lean fish, can further stabilize the meal. But there's one sweet drink shown in lab research to help muscles use sugar more efficiently. Up next. Could a drink often viewed as simple refreshment actually play a role in managing blood sugar balance? Coconut water, drawn from young coconuts, is usually seen as a natural sports beverage for hydration. Its light sweetness has led many to assume it behaves like fruit juice, causing a rapid rise in blood glucose. But different studies suggest a more complex picture, with coconut water showing an unexpectedly helpful double action. In lab research, coconut water appeared to inhibit enzymes in the gut, specifically alpha-glucosidase and alpha-amylase, that normally break carbohydrates into simple sugars. By slowing this process, glucose release into the bloodstream happens more gradually. At the same time, ex vivo muscle studies in rats demonstrated that coconut water could increase glucose uptake by muscle cells. Since muscles are the body's major site for glucose use, this action could, in theory, help lower circulating sugar levels. Together, these two effects, reduced breakdown in the gut and enhanced uptake in muscle, form the basis of its double action. Still, it's essential to note that these findings come from laboratory and animal work, not yet from large human trials. The compounds inside coconut water may help explain these effects. Analyses have identified phytochemicals such as quercetin, ellagic acid, silibinin, and baecolin, each with known antioxidant and potential insulin-supporting actions. These compounds may assist insulin signaling, the process where cells respond to the hormone that allows them to absorb glucose. Strengthening this pathway could, in theory, let muscles use glucose more efficiently with the same or lower insulin demand. Coconut water also demonstrated antioxidant activity in animal and cell studies, increasing protective enzymes like SOD and catalase while lowering markers of oxidative stress. Since oxidative stress contributes to diabetic complications, this dual support is considered valuable even if still unproven in everyday life settings. Because most of the current evidence is preclinical, it is best to treat coconut water as a potentially supportive hydration option rather than a proven therapy. Anyone on diabetes medication or with kidney concerns, since coconut water contains potassium, should check with their healthcare provider before adding it regularly. For those who enjoy it, plain, unsweetened coconut water is the form to choose. Flavored options with added sugars cancel out any potential benefit. A sensible portion is up to about 1 cup on occasion, especially after physical activity when the body's muscle tissue is primed to take in glucose for recovery. This approach makes it a refreshing, safe, and measured choice. Sweetness doesn't have to be the enemy. With the right choices, it can actually work for you. But the real blood sugar battle starts first thing in the morning when your liver releases stored sugar in what's called the dawn effect. There's one simple morning drink that's been shown to support liver detox and bring fasting glucose down, especially if you wake up with high numbers. It's easy, affordable, and surprisingly effective. Tap the video on screen to see how it works and why more and more people with diabetes are starting to use it every day.